welcome to the Government News Brief. It is Thursday, November 17, 2016. In the news, government to repair Cato Secondary School and recover damages. Recently rescued human trafficking victims receive government support, and a new model Lethem industrial estate to house 70 businesses. Stay tuned for these and other stories. Thank you for staying with us. I am Renetta LaFleur, and here are the details. Government will be undertaking repairs to the Cato Secondary School, even as it continues to explore how it will recover damages from the contractor responsible for poor construction. Details in this Tiffany Rodius report.
Speaking at today's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman says the government is in the process of determining how to recover damages from the contractor. The school remains incomplete due to severe structural defects. Some 400 students and teachers were expected to occupy the building.
The Minister of Public Infrastructure is, I know, in active discussions with the Minister of Legal Affairs and Honorable Attorney General about do we allow the company that presided over the bad workmanship, if I can put it that way, to be compelled to go and fix it? Or do we surcharge them by way of taking them to court and getting damages?
Trotman says facilitating the children's safety and access to education is paramount.
Ultimately, the well-being and welfare of children and their right to an education must be paramount. So I believe that the Minister of Public Infrastructure is going to be finding ways to do some repairs to the building so that it can be safely and efficiently occupied by the students.
3 years ago, the previous administration paid $1 billion to Cares Engineering Inc. for the construction of the Cato School in Region 8, but the shoddy work has made the building unsafe. Minister Trotman notes that this government will not be supporting this contractor until it brings itself into compliance with the law and proper construction techniques. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
The Ministry of Social Protection Security's Counter-Trafficking in Persons CTIP unit is working to support the 5 alleged human trafficking victims who were rescued in a recent raid in a mining area. Delon Sanko has the details.
The ministry is committed to providing relief and psychosocial support for victims through a collaborative effort with the Guyana Police Force. Acting coordinator of the Counter-Trafficking Unit, Tanisha Williams, says,
"We have the police who are continuing their investigation. There are some concerns surrounding why they were in the area in the first place, as underage females, one being 15 and one being 17. Their parents were called in and they were cautioned, and the police are continuing their investigations along that line."
The unit's acting coordinator explains that one young adult captured was reported missing by her husband and relatives and has been reunited with her family. Meanwhile, the Labor Department is investigating the case.
One underage male who was also picked up in the area and could not give any concrete information as to his name, his address, his parents' names, and so forth. His matter is being dealt with by the Labor Department as possible child labor.
Williams Kerbin says the other victim is an underage girl who was trafficked. Her perpetrators were charged and placed before the court. The acting coordinator says the raid was a success because more persons are reporting instances of human trafficking, which is boosting the unit's capacity in the execution of their duties.
We're seeing that persons now, the confidence in the system has somewhat increased since our raids, and persons now have a bigger confidence that yes, something is going to be done if we report these things. And so with that's also what we're hoping to achieve, that we're going to build public confidence in the system.
Williams Kerbin underlined the importance of parents and guardians being conscious of their children's whereabouts and urged persons to come forward and report cases of human trafficking. Delon Sanko for the Government News Brief.
Plans are moving ahead to complete the Lethem industrial estate that will house 70 businesses. The project has been set back due to several factors. Find out more from Gabriela Patram.
The Latam Industrial Estate, which is located in Rupununi Region 9, is scheduled to be completed either late next year or early in 2018. This is according to Minister of Business Dominic Gaskin. He noted that when completed, it will be able to accommodate approximately 70 businesses. The estate was scheduled to be completed this year but had to be reviewed for a number of reasons. The business minister said the project appears to have been done haphazardly. The estate did not care for small businesses and some other major weaknesses.
We have chosen a model that will see among those 70 businesses 4 what we call anchor tenants, which will be larger businesses. Depending on the type or nature of those larger businesses, that will sort of be the catalyst for some of the other businesses that we expect to occupy the estate.
Minister Gaskin said that they are looking at the Brazilian market because of the location of Latam, which he believes is the most viable market setting for Guyanese products coming out of that particular industrial estate.
We have with Brazil an agreement, a bilateral agreement, a partial scope agreement, which allows preferential access for a number of goods and items from Guyana. We need to examine those items and come up with some strategy for sort of linking those opportunities with that market, with what is produced in the estate.
Minister mentioned that this estate is something that was inherited as an incomplete project from the previous administration, and the ministry has all intention of completing it properly. In the 2016 budget, $212 million Guyana dollars was allocated for developing and fixing industrial estates, one in Latam Region 9 and another one in Belvedere Region 6, which is smaller and has space for about 20 businesses. For the Government News Brief, I'm Gabriela Patram.
The Central Housing and Planning Authority's drive to create livable and wholesome communities is in force. Squatters on government lands and reserves are therefore required to remove. Details from Neola Damon.
Minister within the Ministry of Communities with the responsibility for housing, Valerie Adam Patterson, says that the CHPA's enforcement officers recently carried out an exercise in Sophia.
As recent as 2 weeks ago, I think, my team went in there because after I visited and I did a television program asking persons not to continue squatting, we are looking at ways and means to address the issue. We have noted that many persons went in after that and putting up new structures. So the enforcement department went in. And while some people say we were breaking down houses, no, that's not the case. We were breaking new structures that were going up.
During an earlier visit to the community, the enforcement officers had met with squatters living in existing buildings in the community. The officers had marked those buildings and identified the persons living within for the ministry's rent-to-own homes that will soon come on stream. Minister Adam Patterson explained that in the new exercise, none of the old structures were touched.
We are not in the business of putting people on the road. But there were new structures. Some you just see frames. And so the guys went in. They went with police, but I think it was only 2 police officers. And that was not enough. Because the report I got is that the people swarmed them and wanted to beat the staff and beat the police, so they had to retreat.
Minister Adam Patterson said that CHPA will not be deterred and will continue to enforce its strict zero-tolerance policy on squatting in Sophia and elsewhere.
We cannot continue to operate the way we are operating. Order has to come. And if we're trying to do it in a decent manner and people don't want to cooperate with us, then we have to bring the hammer down. And that's not what we want to do. We want to work with people and bring order. So I'm appealing to all Guyanese, because it's not only happening in Sophia. Stop the squatting. We know we have issues with land allocations. We're working on it. Stop the squatting.
The CHPA Zero Tolerance campaign on squatting is in keeping with the government's vision of forming healthy communities. I'm Neola Damon for Government News Brief.
NARI is advocating that persons utilize the hydroponic method for cash crop planting. Delicia Haynes tells us why.
Cash crops such as pepper, sweet pepper, tomato, cucumber, lettuce, and cabbage are being promoted for the hydroponic method of growth based on research done at the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, NARI. The Institute's hydroponic research assistant, Jonathan Melville, says that this could become one of the most cost-effective means of planting cash crops.
We want to promote the use of hydroponics on a wider scale. So it's not just for research, but also for implementation so that the common person could say, yes, this is something that looks not just interesting, but it's actually something that could bring money into my operations.
Trials of tomato and sweet pepper have shown good results and have prompted an expansion of the project to green and leafy vegetables at Nari. In addition to high economic returns promised, there are a number of other benefits attached to adopting hydroponic farming.
The main talk these days is about climate change. Climate is changing, and recently there's a statement that went out from the Food and Agricultural Organization that food should change as well because climate is changing. So it's something that we can use in the near-term future. It's not something that is for the long term. It's something that we should use now. And also, it speaks about economics because you can have higher plant density, which means you have a larger scale of production. And also, it'd be less labor intensive because there won't be any need for weeding and stuff like that.
In comparison to traditional agriculture, hydroponics is more cost effective since it is a liquid medium of planting crops. This eventually decreases the chance of crop losses and investment. Hydroponic gardening is recognized as an established branch of agronomy. It results in higher crop yields, and this method can be utilized to provide a regular supply of fresh vegetables even in areas where traditional gardening is not possible. For the Government News Brief, I am Delicia Haynes.
Today is World Philosophy Day. World Philosophy Day was introduced in 2002 by UNESCO to honor philosophical reflection in the entire world by opening up free and accessible spaces. Its objective is to encourage the peoples of the world to share their philosophical heritage and to open their minds to new ideas, as well as to inspire a public debate between intellectuals and civil society on the challenges confronting our society. World Philosophy Day highlights the need for new philosophy practices in today's world, encourage dialogue on the connections with tolerance, and explore new ways to increase accessibility of philosophical teaching and learning. That has brought us to the end of today's edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on Gina's website. Gina has an active Facebook page, and we encourage you to visit and like us so you can be informed as the news unfolds. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of the Government News Brief. I am Renetta LaFleur, thanking you for watching.